Now we're going to move into the National League, and we're going to go through these three divisions. So, Lucas, let's start with the NL West. Give me your standings.
This is another two-team race. It's going to be the Dodgers and the Padres. I don't think you're going to find anyone that's going to disagree with that. Two absolutely stacked teams. I do have the defending World Series champions winning the division. So I've got the Dodgers on top, followed by the Padres. And then there's a mile and a half gap before these bottom three teams that I think the next two teams are San Francisco Giants and the Arizona Diamondbacks. They could be battling for that third and fourth spot. I have it going that direction. And then the Rockies, they lost Arenado. The pitching is just not there right now. They still have Charlie Blackmon. They still have Trevor Story. For how long, I don't know. We'll see. But I don't think they're going to be enough to really propel them, and I have them finishing last in the West.
Congratulations, Lucas. You finally got a division correct. That is what I have. So I'll go through it once again, but I do agree with you on all of those. It is a two-team race between the Dodgers and the Padres. I have the Dodgers, Padres right behind them, and then there's that gap you were talking about because those teams are very good, and the next teams get to average before you get to the Rockies. So I do have Giants ahead of the Diamondbacks. I do think the Giants will finish third place in that division. Unfortunately, they won't make the playoffs, obviously, because a third team's not making it out of the West. I'm sure two teams will make it out of the West. Then I have the Diamondbacks finishing in fourth, and in last place I have the Rockies, who are still trying to figure things out over there in Colorado. Now let's move on to my division, my favorite division, the division I watch all the games in, the National League Central. What do you got for me?
This is another tough one. In my opinion, there's 5 pretty middling teams in the NL Central, and it'll be really interesting to see how it shapes up. I don't anticipate there being a 100-game winner out here. It's just 5 sort of average teams. Ultimately,
do you think there will even be a 90-game winner in this division?
Yeah, maybe 1 or 2. I don't think there'll be a 95-game winner though.
Okay.
I think St. Louis is probably going to win 90 games. They're my winner in the Central, followed, in my opinion, pretty closely by the Milwaukee Brewers. I do anticipate a bounce back year from Christian Yelich. It was a weird year last year, obviously, and he certainly didn't live up to expectations. I think he'll get back to being more of the MVP caliber player that he was 2 seasons ago. Third place, I have your Cubbies. Pretty average. They can hit the ball. We'll see if the pitching can do much of anything. And then the Reds and the Pirates rounding out the Central in my picks.
Okay, so I don't agree with you here. My Cubs, I think they can win the division, and there's, of course, a little bias, but they can hit the ball almost as good as any other team. The pitching will come around. It's going to take a little bit. It might take a month, but that pitching is going to come around, and if they can pitch, they will win a lot of ball games. I don't think there's going to be a 90-game winner in this division. I think the best is going to be 88, 89, maybe 87 games. A lot of teams right in the 80s. So I do think the Cubs can pull it out because they're always there at the end of the year, and they're still going to be there. They're not dropping off yet. They still have the same team that was winning, that was going deep in the playoffs, that won the World Series. They still have a lot of those weapons. And Javi Baez, Ian Happ, those are good players. Chris Bryant, Anthony Rizzo, those are very good players. The pitching's going to come around. They got Jake Arrieta back. He, of course, had not his best season last year. He's not the Cy Young winner he used to be. But if he can be a solid 2 or 3 starter, the Cubs can go far. Next, I have the Brewers. I agree with you. They're going to bounce back, and they obviously have a lot of tools there to bounce back. Then I have the Cardinals. They just picked up Nolan Arenado. He used to be my favorite non-Cub in baseball. Not anymore. I can't root for Cardinals players. I just can't find to do it. Then I have the Reds and Pirates like you do. The Reds, they're an interesting team because they could jump to second or third in this division since it's going to be so close. And I think those top 4 teams all have a chance of finishing, honestly, anywhere in those 4 positions. The Pirates, they're going to be last place. Unfortunately, they play tough schedule. They have a lot of tough teams they got to go up against, and they're not ready to compete in this division quite yet. Now we'll move on to our final division, the NL East.
Yeah, so out east, I have the Atlanta Braves finishing first place. They've got one of the most exciting young teams in baseball right now with Ronald Acuna, among others. Their pitching staff is young and on the rise, and they've been really good the last couple of years. And I have them winning the East Division, followed not too distantly by the New York Mets. They've obviously had high expectations last season and didn't live up to them, and the season before that and didn't live up to them. But I think this will kind of end that broken record, and they'll find a way to pick up more wins this year. I mean, Lindor is one of the best shortstops in the game. He's a big addition. The pitching staff got better. They're going to be good this year. I have Philadelphia in third.
Okay.
I was high on them kind of the last two seasons, and they just didn't live up to the expectations. And I don't think that they're going to be particularly great this year, which is strange to say when they have Bryce Harper and JT Realmuto, in my opinion, two of the better players in the game. But they just haven't gotten it done in recent years. And then fourth place to have the Washington Nationals. Obviously, they won a World Series a couple seasons ago. They've sort of been on the downswing ever since, and I think that streak continues this year. And then last place, despite their surprise playoff berth last year, I have the Miami Marlins. They're just not. They're not good enough. They traded away all their pieces, and in my opinion, they didn't get enough for most of those pieces. And even though those young guys that they did acquire in those trades are starting to come up now, they're just not top MLB quality talent yet. So,
Okay. I agree with you for the most part. There's just one thing I have different. So I do think it's a two-team race in this division. It's the Braves or the Mets. Those are the only teams I see coming out of the NL East on top, and I'm going with the Braves. I've been big on the Braves the last couple of years. I like the Braves. I love watching them. They're a fun team, and I just enjoy watching them play baseball. Then I have the Mets in second place. They're also a solid team, and they could win this division, but it's the Mets, and that's what a lot to say. And I don't think they're going to pull it out, but they still have a chance of making the playoffs. In third, this is where I differ from you. I have the Nationals. I think the Nationals are going to be third place because I'm not big on the Phillies. They have good players, but they don't know how to use those good players, and they're just not doing it correctly right now. I don't know what's going on there in Philadelphia, but I do see the Nationals getting third place in this division. Then I have the Phillies in fourth place. They have Bryce Harper. He's obviously one of the greatest players in the game. He's been slept on the last few years because he's just not playing as the greatest player in the game, but he's still playing like a solid baseball player. And in last place, I'm happy to say I have the Marlins. They knocked my team out of the playoffs last year, 2-0. They swept us in the expanded playoffs, so that was very frustrating to watch. And then they lost the next round. That was their first time ever losing a series in the playoffs. But
that's
I was happy
crazy.
to see them lose. And that is going to wrap up our National League predictions.